When you are beginning, you don't have to make things so complicated. Just trust your eyes, try to achieve readability. Hello fantasy cartographers, welcome back. In this episode, we are going to learn how to add labels and the things that we should consider when we are adding them. Starting with the two main ways that I observe that are the most common when it comes to adding labels. The first one is just adding the label directly on top of the map. The second is to use a banner and therefore separating the text from the map with a background. Like this can be a paper, this can be a bar, this can be wood. It doesn't matter. The idea is to separate the label from the map and make it pop. The other option is to use only a map key for all the labels and using some numbers or letters to represent the places. What do I mean by that? For example, we have A here, right? A. It can be on top of the icon, somewhere else. There can be different options, or 1, let's say 3. So in these kind of cases, the person has a box or something here, and like anywhere on the map, and all the labels are put on top of that box or on top of that paper or wherever the map key goes, and whoever is viewing the map needs to match the numbers or letters. For example, C for capital C. These different options can be combined, but mainly speaking, there are two ways. Directly put the label, use some kind of background, can be a piece of paper like a banner, and separate the text from the map and pop it up more. These are the most common ways that I see. And now that we know the main types of adding labels, I want to mention the main difference between the two, the main advantage and disadvantage between the two. When you go with this option, so the first option, just adding the label directly on the map, it saves you space, so you have more of the map. Because imagine if you had more of these everywhere and on different sizes, you would see less of the map. So that means if you are going with more minimalism and you don't really need to see all the details on the map, it works better. But if you are in a place where every inch of the paper matters, or if you are like trying to reflect everything, then the space that this covers will take up details that you could potentially add there. For example, what if there was another small lake right here? Now that detail is lost. Is it that important? Depends. You need to understand what type of amount of detail you need to go with, what is the balance that you are trying to go with. So that is the disadvantage of adding some background to it. It takes up space, but the advantage that it adds is aesthetics and the labels easier to read. Because if you have this label, especially on places that are very tight and the color is not really easy to help the label pop up, then this really saves you. It makes it more easy to read. Honestly speaking, when you have labels there, when you have banners there, it looks much nicer. It looks more unique. So these are the two types, the main advantages and disadvantages. Now I'm going to quickly add some labels on the map and talk a little bit about them, trying to keep it beginner friendly. Like I'm going to randomly generate those maps to save time. Just like roads, we can also add some twists to those labels and create some categorization. And you can show this categorization on the map key, or you may keep it hidden. I'm not trying to make the best now. I'm just quickly adding things and then I will show you a few more things. So now that we have some of the labels, we can change their fonts. So we can have multiple fonts on the map, but please don't go with 5 fonts. Stick with 2, maximum 3. Just think it like a poster design. Like you have the main title, right? It can be a different font to take more attention to it. And then maybe you have another font for the things that are majorly important. Maybe a different font for all the capitals, or maybe a different font for only the kingdom names. And the third, maybe for all the other settlements or the other things. Or maybe you can separate these as fonts for natural things, like mountain ranges, rivers, lakes, seas, and font for structural things, settlements, tombs, capitals. So don't go overcrowded with different types of fonts, because within every font you can also add styles to it. For example, let's say I have a font and I want to stick with it for all the settlements. My capital could be labeled bigger because it has higher value. It is more important than the other places. The same thing goes for natural things. Maybe the name of a river, it can be small. You can now also play with the letters using capital letters. You can make also italic, bold. So those kind of things, differences, variations within the same category, within the same font style, can also be used to add a detail to the map and make it easier to read, because the viewer, even if you don't mention the differences on a map key, after checking the map for some time, get used to the style. So automatically at some point, if they see this font and this style, and maybe even italic, let's say italic, so even if that place at that moment is very crowded with many labels, because of the clear separation of the styles, the person who is checking the map will understand which label represents which part. It will not create any confusion. And another thing you can do is also to change the rotations and the letter spacing to make it easier to read on the map. If I reduce this a little more and try to not overlap the text with more assets behind it, because I don't have a banner or something that separates the label, right? So I should avoid overlapping things. Or the same thing goes with colors. If I create contrast with the color of the label, which is why I'm using like white right now, because it is easy to read. It is easy to separate it from the colors of the background. But imagine if this was a yellowish label and no outline and no glow. I lost it. So there might be a place where a type of font is really easy to read, a type of color is really easy to read, but it may not be the same for another location because of the change of background colors and the details there. So play with it. When you are beginning, you don't have to make things so complicated. Just trust your eyes, try to achieve readability, and just with a little bit of practice, you will be able to create really nice looking labels. Like, why did I put it here? Because behind a C, if I put this instead of here, because of the color, yes, it's gonna be still readable, but it doesn't really look nice. There are assets behind it. There are so many overlaps. This one looks much more clear. And to make them even more easy to read, you can even sometimes do a little bit of adjustments on the map. Nobody's gonna judge you like, hey, at the beginning you had a smaller island there, you lost that island. Maybe there was a village there, you killed all those people. Nah, come on. This is your map, your world. See which kind of adjustments benefit your world and map the most. Compare the pluses and minuses and go with whichever is the most beneficial option. So I think that's it for this video. I think you should experiment yourself, and because that is also the fun part of the process. I don't want to just do always this and that, because in that case you will just end up copying my style. I don't want that. I want you to learn the system and the approach, and using those informations, create your style and see which one fits your liking more. And because this is my goal, I don't want to get lost in all those details and tips. I just want to give you the practical tips, the practical steps, and I want to see you grow, having fun mapping, because mapping is so much fun, and come up with your own styles, come up with your own unique approaches. So that's it for this video. I hope it was useful. I hope it was fun. There are also some tips and tricks that I'm gonna give you when it comes to adding a background for the labels. But for now, as a beginner, I think you should just go with the font and practice to put it in places that will make them easier to read, because this is gonna be also another challenge. So learn this one first. That is my recommendation. And then we can use banners and get the benefit of them later. So I hope you like it. I hope this was helpful. If it did, please make sure to follow and like the video. So see you in the next video. Happy mappings.